Welcome to another episode of the Jersey Oddcast with Joseph F. Berenato, Gabriel J. Donio, and me, Gina Rullo. Hey guys, what's happening?
A little of this, little of that.
All good. Another winter week. At least it got a little warmer.
It
Thankfully.
did. Before it started to warm up, Joe, you had some activity at Oak Grove Cemetery where you are the caretaker?
I am the caretaker, and I'm also the secretary and treasurer to the board. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What happened?
I believe it was Wednesday morning. I was doing my inspection of the grounds. I do it when I get here, and I do it before I leave, just to make sure that nothing fell over, nothing caught fire, nobody ran over anything. And unfortunately, I discovered the latter. Somebody had cut off one of our roads and ran over a gravestone to jump the curb and cut out onto Old Forks Road. Fortunately, there was no damage to the gravestone. I mean, those old flat markers, you have to intentionally want to damage them, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the point. You know, thankfully there was no damage, but somebody still decided to run off the road and run over graves on the way out.
That's really unfortunate. I hate to see any kind of vandalism in our
Yeah.
cemeteries. And we've seen this before, haven't we, Gabe?
Unfortunately, I mean, and it just comes out of, I say bored people wintertime. Well, it's not always winter, but still bored people with, no idea of what they're impacting. I mean, you're actually, in a way, it's not just vandalism. I mean, when you're running over graves and knocking over gravestones, it's beyond vandalism.
Yeah, and this certainly it's not the first time here, even since I've been here, and I've been here for this June is going to be 6 years. 2 years ago, we had someone run off the road, plow into an upright marker, knock it completely off of its base, and 5 feet from the base. Never found out who that was. At the very least, we did have some comfort in the fact, and this may sound a little vindictive, but I know there was damage to their vehicle because there was a clear line of transmission fluid where they backed up and then went down the road. So at least that was costly for them.
And then you ended up a little bit, a few other, like, articles online and stuff like that, I believe.
Yeah, we had put out a post because I wanted basically I wanted who to know that we saw it, and hopefully it would get back to them somehow and they would do better next time. I was not expecting the outpouring of support from the community. The last time I checked, the post had something like 8,000 engagements based on how many people shared it. Yeah, it was wild. It was something like 50,000 impressions, 8,000 engagements. Steve Keeley, who works for Fox 29, apparently grew up in Hamilton, used to work at a pizzeria. He saw it, he put it out. He told his editor said, get down there and do a story. Now, I had just gotten home Tuesday night, and I was getting ready to get changed and go about my evening, and I got a phone call from one of the contractors who was working here, and he's like, so the news is here. I'm like, what do you mean the news is here? He's like, the news is here about that thing that happened. I'm like, what news? Like, I don't know, out of Philly. All right, keep him there. I'll be there in 10 minutes. So came down. He had already interviewed a couple of residents of Hamilton, got my take on it. That aired that night. Tons of people saw it. I was contacted the next day by NBC 10, by 6 ABC. It ended up being on a couple different radio stations' websites. And I hear tell, though I haven't been able to confirm this, that someone in town has a family member in Florida who called and said what happened to the cemetery because it was just on the news down here. So, yeah.
That's great. I love to hear that. I hopefully, people will be more vigilant if they see something happening. Are you going to put up any cameras, do you think?
We're currently pricing them. Yeah. We're pricing them and we're pricing Wi-Fi extenders because of where our office is. It's in the center of the property, and the Wi-Fi
Gotcha.
extends maybe like 100 feet or so. So we'll need an extender for that. But we've been talking about cameras for a while, and I think that this is the impetus to put them up, see who comes in, who goes out, and so forth.
Yeah, that's a good thing, to do that. And, there's cameras everywhere nowadays. Every house has one, it feels like, at least a ring camera at the minimum.
Yeah,
So it feels like a natural evolution for you.
yeah, and it's a shame it's gotten to this point, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Fair enough. On a different note, the Hamilton Middle School is going to be hosting a trivia night on Thursday, February 13th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in the Hamilton Middle School cafeteria. They are encouraging teams to be combined of students, family, and friends and staff. And I just think there's something really cool about this, something fun, different, very education focused. And, if I had a middle schooler, I would totally go to this. I think it's a fun night. I love nerdy things like this. How about you guys? How do you feel about a trivia night?
Oh, same thing. If I
They're
had
great.
Yeah, if I had a middle schooler, I would be all over that. I love trivia. I love anything relating to that. My mind, as some of you may have noticed, is just an absolute storehouse of useless facts, and I have absolutely no problem mopping up the floor with a bunch of teenagers.
Gabe, are you
It's
ready
like
to go up against a bunch of teenagers?
I have no intention of doing that, but I will say, and that comes from going to these trivia nights and actually being asked not to come anymore. And you were there, Gina.
I
You
was.
know, so like it gets a little awkward when you're winning, gift certificate after gift certificate, and everyone else in the restaurant's giving you like this steely-eyed gaze and like, go away. You just
Yeah,
this
I
is
think
not
we were
democratic.
brought in. We were brought in at that point because we paid attention in school, so we actually remembered what happened in history
We, we,
classes, and
we were brought in because we were old. That's my recollection.
we were in
It's
our
nice. That other
we were in our
stuff is nice
30s,
too.
so we were not that
Yeah.
old as we are now,
No,
but
but it
we were
was
our
like
30s.
it was to answer questions that occurred after 85, 1985. But and we got them. We got them. But no, I mean this for the middle schoolers and their families, whomever else. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's just again something fun. I mean, we need more of that.
Yeah,
So I think I wish them all the best with it.
On a different note, the Hampton School District has distributed a school district attendance survey. According to the survey, it's in an effort to decrease chronic absenteeism. The school district is asking parents and guardians to complete a brief survey regarding their beliefs and feelings towards school attendance. The New Jersey Department of Education defines chronic absenteeism as a student who misses 10% or more of the 180-day school year. Now, I know, as we just said, Gabe and I are older, you know, not that old, I don't like to think, but when we were kids, we had to go to school, unless we had a fever or were some other kind of illness. But, one of the questions is, what type of support would help your child attend school more regularly? Counseling or mental health support, tutoring or academic support, more engaging or relevant curriculum, mentoring or peer support programs, improved communications between school and home. And then another question is, what are the most common reasons for your child's absences? Illness, family obligations, transportation issues, lack of motivation. It's like, what is the problem? What are they driving at? And do they have solutions already thought of, or what are we doing here? And if we have chronic absenteeism, how did it get to this point? I guess is my concern.
right, right. Now they did have one question which actually kind of resonated with me for a little bit. How much of a sense of belonging does your student feel at their school? And I had no choice. I had to go to school one way or the other. My parents were absolutely adamant about that, unless I had a fever of 100 or more. But I get that. When I was a kid, I was the short, fat, smart kid with bad hair and thick glasses. And except for my core of maybe three in elementary school, I had a tough time. I made the mistake of dressing like Spock for Halloween in fourth grade, and that stuff lingers after a while. So I
So you
understand.
still dress like Spock.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I at least I'm
uh,
I'm I'm 46, and I don't worry about people teasing me anymore. But
yeah, that makes it better.
yeah, but
But no, your point is well taken because that question that you cited is about like why aren't they coming?
yeah,
And maybe they're not coming because they don't want to be there and they don't feel comfortable there. I don't know, but I do know we got to think of it, guys. I mean, obviously we grew up in our era. This era is post COVID. Attendance obviously has been fractured in some ways. By maybe it's not as bad as it was in COVID, but it's post COVID is different.
Yeah.
So for the schools, but I would just I think to me I keep coming back to how many surveys are we going to do and on what topics and who's responsible for the data that's generated? Is it all going directly to the school district? Is it going to a third party? Some of these questions I think should be asked and answered by the district and by parents or guardians of the kids, because I think it's important to know where the information winds up.
Yeah.
We owe it to the students of our district to do right by them, to make sure they're getting an excellent education. And that does include making sure they feel safe and welcome. And if there is an environment that's being created where students don't feel that way, well, that's a whole different ball game. Like that's a much more serious problem that we're creating in our district. And I would hate to see that,
Yeah, no, I,
you know.
absolutely. If something like that, and again, this is only going off of the questions in the survey. If something like that is
Yeah.
an impetus for a student not wanting to go, then absolutely that does need to be addressed.
Yeah, I hope the school district will be open and honest with the public when they have their survey results and they disclose what those results are and what their solutions are, and to really go into what is the absenteeism rate and how they're planning on addressing it,
Yeah, because if I'm not
you know.
mistaken, it's the state that mandates attendance policy for public schools, and students must attend a certain amount of days or risk being held back unless there are extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Also, keeping with the school district, Hamilton High School welcomed new NHS students, National Honor Society, on January 23rd. All three of us were National Honor Society members. No shock there, I think, for any of our listeners and viewers. But you two were for Hamilton High School.
Yes.
Do you have fond memories of your NHS time?
I
Yes.
do. I
Go.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I was going to say, we had our advisor was Tekla Volpe,
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Volpe, and we had all the back then the bells and whistles, candles lit in a dark auditorium, and everybody, boys and girls in robes, and all the poems and different things of the
Yep.
ceremony that had been the same for a million years. And they did celebrate academic achievement. I mean, as much as we celebrate athletic achievement, maybe a little bit more NHS, I think is the next level. In Hamilton, they did it right. Would you recall it that way, Joe? That was it.
Oh, absolutely. The one of the only two letters that I have from school was for academics. The other was for music. Not exactly the kind of thing that one would put on a letter jacket, but they're safe in a box somewhere in my house. But no, at the whole ceremony, it had the air of being welcomed into this secret society, even though it wasn't. That's what it felt like every year. The NHS would get the advisor. Again, ours was also Ms. Volpe. I think we got her a bicycle, I think was her gift. And I enjoyed being
You bought
in,
her a gift?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Every ceremony, we got the advisor a gift, and I believe it was my senior year. We'd gotten her a bicycle.
So
But I
cool.
think one of my favorite NHS memories was we used to put on a safety program every Halloween at the elementary school, and
Okay.
when it was our turn, we did Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. And do any of you want to guess as to which dwarf they made me be?
Grumpy?
Yep, I was Grumpy.
it was not really outside the wheelhouse.
No, I didn't even have to act. I just
It's on
got
brand.
got up and
Yeah,
spoke lines.
nice.
Did you do that, Gabe? Was there like a safety thing? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was Dick Tracy.
Oh,
That
nice.
was
Because
big
you had a trench
in
coat?
1990. Well, no, I bought one.
Oh,
It was
is that
yellow.
where Gabe Dodio's trench coat started?
No, well, I think I had one already, but I would say the yellow one was a costume with a hat,
Okay.
with the yellow hat.
Okay.
We didn't mess around, and everybody dressed up. And yeah, we would go to the elementary school and put on it was Halloween safety
Yep.
program. Just yet another tradition. Hamilton's great for tradition. I mean, look, these things are handed down and handed down, but I think it's great, and the kids got a big kick out of it, as I
Oh, yeah.
recall.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good time all around.
That is very cool. I would say this growing up, so say graduating from high school in New York, our high school, we did not have anything quite as interesting as that. We had a nice ceremony. It was a big honor, but I don't think we had all the pomp that and circumstance that Hamilton does. And I'm a little sad that I did not go to high school for that reason. I think that would have been really cool, especially the lit candles. Although knowing me and my klutziness, I probably would have dropped it.
Yeah,
So
you
that
had
would have been
set
problematic.
the auditorium on fire,
Yeah.
which would not have been hard back then because
No.
they had ice, those blue auditorium seats with the blue upholstery that would have went up like that.
Yeah, and
So
like,
But they were metal frames, aren't they metal frames?
yeah, but there was also
yeah,
like
in the
do-
back,
dozens of layers of lacquer on the stage, and you were
yeah,
on the choir
yeah,
risers, and they were metal with cloth. It would have been a ceremony to
yeah,
remember, that's for sure.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, when we think about NHS students, a lot of them do receive scholarships to go to college. What's nice about being located in Hamilton is that Stockton University is just a 20-minute drive down the road, and they're opening up their scholarship program. Gabe, do you have some more information about Stockton's scholarship?
I do, since you're asking. This is from Stockton itself, a post from Stockton University. The foundation's scholarships are back. It only takes one application. These scholarships are made possible by a lot of donations from alumni, friends of the university, etc. The 25-26 application opens on January 30th, 2025, and closes March 20th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Very specific. And they have a website. So if you go online, you can find their contact information about how to apply. And I think it's great. It's available, and Stockton's right here in Hamilton, and they've become a great part of the town. So this is a
Absolutely.
great thing if you're looking for some scholarship money.
I mean, Joe and Gabe, you both had academic scholarships for school, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that really helped you both out a lot.
Oh, without
Oh,
question.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. I mean, makes all the difference, and made a big difference after college because then there was no debt.
Yeah.
In my case, I could start a business, or which I did obviously, and that was all possible because I had the scholarship to Boston University. It was called the trustee scholarship. So
And Joe, you had one
a
for
big
Rowan,
help.
didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. I had a full academic scholarship to Rowan, which was still Rowan College when I started.
Oh my God, when
Nice.
dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Well, it wasn't Glassboro State still, at least.
No,
I mean,
no. My second semester that we had University Day, and I can vividly remember the president at the time. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember him tossing T-shirts out to everyone on the quad that said Rowan University.
Did you get a t-shirt?
Of course, I got a T-shirt. It was free.
Do you still have that t-shirt?
Well, that's a different question. I don't believe so. I
mm,
still have a Rowan University hoodie, but I got that a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious, because I mean, if you're anything like my husband, you have t-shirts, going all the way back.
I tend
that's
to
true.
wear them until they fall apart. Having a T-shirt from 1997 is unlikely unless it was something I specifically decided, like, I'm never wearing this and I'm putting this away. And I have one or two of those, but I don't have that one.
Okay.
Right. And I think we've talked about before. I have a quilt and a couple
Yeah.
quilts that Gina
Yes.
ordered of t-shirts because look, like I said before, I love keeping the t-shirts. It's just the my 1993 size might not be my 2025 size. So maybe it's better in a quilt. So that's all right.
On a different note, a former mayor of Winslow Township, Edward Cuneo, age 88, died on January 18th. Gabe, can you tell us a little bit about Edward Cuneo?
Former Mayor Ed Cuneo did, yes, pass away on January 18th of this year at his home with his family by his side, according to the obituary at Marinello Funeral Home. And, he was mayor in the mid 80s, 85, also was well known as a coach, was well involved in the extremely involved in Winslow Township. Also a scout for Major League Baseball with the Orioles. He loved the Orioles, especially. Never missed a game if it was televised. Loved the Baltimore Colts and the Indianapolis Colts. This is all from the obituary. And he actually was also a scout with the Kansas City Royals in '69.
Hmm.
So it's a loss for Winslow Township, and of course, certainly for his family. And we are thinking of them at this time because there's only so many people who get involved to the point of being a mayor. And I think when you look at his, I tell everybody, look at the obituary, look at the life that's been led, and because there is a lot connected. It's more than just being elected to a position. It's really a lifetime of service. So we've talked about that before here, and we'll talk again, I'm sure again. But we certainly send our best to the Cuneo family, and also the information would be that it's coming up on the visitation will be Saturday, February 8th. It will be from 9 to 11 a.m. At Marinello Funeral Home. There'll be a celebration of life service at the funeral home, which is located at 102 North 3rd Street in Hamilton, and burial will be private.
Thank you, Gabe. Speaking of Winslow Township, the you can feel winter is starting. I'm hoping you're starting to feel like it's pulling back because Cold Cow has announced that it's opening on February 15th. And this is like my groundhog, if you will, of letting me know that spring is coming because our seasonal businesses are announcing when they're reopening. Cold Cow, February 15th. Tacos El Carbone, mid-February. And then soon we're going to hear about Royal Crown and Sophia's and Rita's Water Ice. And I love these signs because it's like warm weather is on its way and I can't wait. Especially the last couple weeks we've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's time.
Nothing says spring and shedding off the cold weather like going and having ice cream. I realize how counterintuitive that sounds, but it just there's something about going and getting a cone in January that doesn't sit right. But once it starts to warm up and stay above freezing for a little bit, got to go get one. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I like to push it, let's force the deck because this thing, it's the winter has been perhaps a little longer than we'd like this year. And so we're ready for spring, right? And that's all the different ones that we were talking about, like Sophia's, and also all those roadside markets and stands
Yeah.
that all
Royal
make
Crown.
spring and summer, right? Royal Crown, they all make spring and summer what it is. And for a lot of us, hey, it can't come fast enough. So we're ready to go. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
good to know. February 15th, Cold Cow.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Okay, let's go get a chocolate shake.
I am here for it. I really am. But if we also think about other food places, what's going on with the Wendy's on the White Horse Pike in Hamilton? It doesn't I people are asking me, what have you heard? I have not heard anything. Admittedly, I never really went to the Wendy's, so I don't know. Have you guys heard anything about what's going on at Wendy's?
Just rumor, nothing substantial, and it's the same four or five franchise names that have been thrown around anytime any business building goes vacant in town. Oh, it's this one coming. Oh, it's that one coming. But to hear anything substantial, no. Do I have my wishes as to what might come? Yes, but do I know what's coming? No.
I had nothing. I mean, like one of those things where people always ask, what do you think's going to fill that building? Now, worst case scenario is what I call the burger chef scenario. So the burger chef was empty a while before it became Nino's,
Well, that was
and
a win.
it's
Nino's is
been
a win.
Nino's, right? It's been
Absolutely.
Nino's ever since. So there is hope because the Burger Chef, I guess when it was there, it did well, but then it went out.
And that was what
60s,
Mm,
70s,
eh,
early
70s.
70s, I
I
think.
mean, I'm going to tell you, I mean, as a chain Burger Chef fell apart, so
Yeah.
it wasn't just like here.
yeah.
But they had a big sign that said "Home of the 15-cent hamburger," whatever it did, and the pylon of which I think is still there, holding up the Nino sign.
Yes.
So these things are they fixable. I will say the building's in pretty decent shape, meaning the Wendy's.
Yeah.
If it's remodeled soon enough, like we've seen with, quite frankly, I mean, if you think about the
Yeah.
Taco Bell was a Wendy's and a KFC before it was a Taco Bell.
Yeah,
So you can remodel these buildings.
yeah. Or if you
Hopefully they'll. Yeah,
think about the Verizon building, that was a Taco Bell, and then that was Starbucks, and then that was Checkers, and now it's Verizon. It was a cleaner at one point, and I don't remember if it was something before Taco Bell, but it's real easy to change the facade to suit whatever brand you're trying to bring in.
right, right. And let's remember, I always call that area the 50-yard line. I mean, when you make the left off of 206, it's a de facto rest stop with all the different fast food and other things that are there. The chain, they're there for a reason because of the traffic counts. So hopefully the traffic counts will drive someone to say, okay, let's take a flyer on this Wendy's and remodel it and turn it into something again. I hope.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. In other news, the Hamilton Republicans have announced their 2025 slate. I don't believe it's a complete slate. Assemblyman Michael Teresi is running again. Stephen Fergione is running for mayor. Anthony Marino is running for re-election as a councilman. And Ray Scipione, who is a current school board member, is going to run for a seat on the council.
Hmm.
A third member for the slate for the council has not been named at this time. But it's early. I'm excited that they've announced, and it makes it a little interesting. But Steve Fergione, who ran last year on Hamilton First, is now running on the Republican slate again for mayor. And Ray Scipione, who is a school board member, is now running for council. And so it's a little unusual, and I'm curious to see what happens next. You guys?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be
No,
the first time that a school board member jumped and ran for council.
No.
No, but it certainly would change the face of either elected body. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hamilton First has, announced its candidate for mayor in Tom Griffin, who's been on council for a number of years. So that side of things is on one end, and I think that had to, at least in my opinion, influence for Joni. He selected to be a Republican and run for, even though, as you pointed out, Gina, that he had run as a member of Hamilton First for council. So it does mix up things. And remember, we've also had for mayor, talk about 20 years of essentially similar, or candidates who have been, there's been two candidates that were elected in 20 years. So it is, I think, a moment where this is the new order of things after that 2 decades prior to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens. I'm curious to see who is going to be running on the Hamilton First slate, if they are going to fill it out. And of course, I'm curious to see if the Democrats are going to put together a slate this year.
Yeah.
I believe Anthony Angelosi has announced that he is running for assembly as well as a Democrat. And so, will he have a full slate to run behind him on the ticket? That is a possibility, and we cannot ignore that as a possibility.
Yeah. It has been a number of years since the Democratic Party has had a council candidate in Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken. A number of years.
It's been a bit, but I would love to see it.
Absolutely.
I think it's great when you can have again, it's all about the engagement, getting people excited about being part of this community and getting involved and trying to help the town make it the best that it can be.
Yeah.
And that's all we ask of our council candidates.
More choices are always better in, I think, any kind of situation where we're trying to fill seats on a council or seats in a mayor's race. It's always better, I think, to have choices and as many choices that people can have. It just makes it gets more people, as Gina said, engaged in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The more choices you have, the more that the electorate feels that they may be represented by a particular candidate. When you narrow that down, well, it's like, okay, well, I guess this is my choice. But the more options you have, then you have a lot more variety, and it makes it a lot more interesting to see what direction the electorate as a whole decides to go.
Yeah. So I'm very curious when, all the slates will be finalized and to see who we have. And, it's a long way between now and November, so we'll see what happens. And, I will say that I believe Tom Gribben's seat on council is up this year. So this is an all
Yes,
or nothing year for him. Whereas if Stephen Fergione loses, or even if Ray loses, I believe they still maintain their current positions on the school board and on council. So they will not be as directly impacted as Councilman Gribben will be.
correct.
So it's going to be a very interesting rest of the year. But let's go back to a story that I feel like people have forgotten about or just put out of their mind. Let's talk about drones. I hear they're back now that the FAA has dropped their ban, and I hear they're back in the night sky. I admittedly have not been outside a while. In case anyone doesn't know, I broke my leg. So I'm only going outside like once or twice a week because really can't get anywhere. So have you guys seen them? Are they back? I saw a couple of news articles. I don't know.
Well, they were. What's back is interesting in that I think they qualified it as registered drones
Okay.
are back
Mm.
because that ban was for everything. And as someone who has said all along here that this was a diversionary tactic of some kind, and I'll stick by that, given the timeline of how it just the parabola of we're going to talk about drones and then we're not ever going to talk about drones again. I think it's like classic diversionary tactic. But I I don't think if you look, it's the same type of drones that were being talked about earlier. Joe,
Well,
it's the
according
same
to
kind of UFOs?
well, what I read was that in the last couple of days there have been reports of there were more than 100 reports of SUV-sized drones in the northeastern skies again. So it does sound like the same type. I, for one, have not seen any of them, so I'm a little disappointed in that. But once I'm home after work and the sun goes down, I don't like going outside at all. Leave me in, give me food, let me watch television, and I'm good to go. As long as nothing falls on my house, as long as my house is not on fire and my power works, I don't need to go outside and look at the sky. It's fine. But it seems like these reports indicate that they may be back. And it's interesting that it happened after the FAA lifted their ban, which means, at least to my largely uninformed mind, that whoever it was doing this was paying attention, because if these were not authorized drone flyings, then they wouldn't have cared one bit about what the FAA said.
Well, it's a very obedient group of drone people, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you say stop, okay, we stop. You say go, we go. But it's still strange if it is like you said, SUV sized, these sort of things. Again, the part that's strange is like what is going on with the timing of these things. We know this isn't something we were talking about or allegedly seeing 6 months ago. So what's bringing it up then recently and then stopping it and then starting it again? Like it's just it seems very orchestrated. That's the part. Like in other words, it's not like if somebody was doing something illegal, saying stop doing that would not have stopped that. I don't think
traditionally not.
with the
No,
drone.
no.
So
No, this
so they're a very obedient group for
yeah.
some reason. I don't get
Yeah. No, this very much does
it. Very
feel
strange.
like, hey, look over there. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But what are we not? What is it we're supposed to be diverted from?
I at this point I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
not me neither.
We're introducing a new segment today. We're introducing Jersey odds and ends, weird facts and news about New Jersey. So I have found this week's, and I didn't know. Does everybody know that New Jersey has a state seashell?
I did not
I
know
did
that.
not know that.
Which I don't think every state could say they have because they're not on they don't border the ocean. And for New Jersey, it is the knobbed whelk. I say Google it so you can see what it looks like. But that is my Jersey odds and ends for the week. I just think it's super cool that we have a state seashell.
Yeah. I would be interested
That
to
is up.
see how many other states have like what would say Arizona's be if they had one. I'd be curious.
Well, you know what, Joe? You're in charge of that. Next week, you can report back to our listeners and us and let us know how many other states have a state seashell.
and then that will be a
Yeah.
thing that we know.
That would be.
Why would Arizona have a state season?
That's what I don't know.
Well, you know, at some point, most of the world was underwater, and they find, you know, signs of sea life here and
Like
there.
dinosaurs roaming the
Yeah,
land.
yeah.
Speaking of
Well,
things that are
hey,
going
they might have one.
extinct,
Well, let's look it up. What happened?
speaking of things that are going extinct, I feel like malls are going extinct, and we are children of the mall era.
Oh, yeah.
We love the mall. Give me an orange Julius, right? A Sam Goody. Like, give me all
A
the things that,
Mrs. Fields big cookie.
oh, yeah. Like, give me all the mall things. Drop me off there. Let me wander around the mall.
Yeah.
Pick me up in a couple hours.
Let me hit the arcade. Let me hit B. Dalton Booksellers, Suncoast Videos, the comic shop, and I'm good to go.
Let me buy a sweater from Chess King.
Get get a cheeseburger from Big Al's back when Al, what's his name from Happy Days, actually had a chain
Right.
of food court
That's
restaurants.
right.
Did he
Oh,
really?
Or yeah,
yes,
he
he
did.
did.
Or a
I
Cinnabon. Get
I,
yourself a Cinnabon.
I think
San Francisco Music Company?
he and Anson Williams, who played Potsy, they went in on it together, and they were in hundreds of malls for maybe 10 years.
I remember the
Now,
logo. It
Yeah,
was
how
Al's head.
many of
yeah.
us rode our bike to the mall from Hamilton? Raise your
No,
hand if you.
we did.
Joe, you rode your bike to the Hamilton Mall from Hamilton.
Yeah, and good memory. We were 13 years old, and we decided
I am
that
not
we
part of the we. Just like to
no,
make that clear.
no, it was my group of friends and I, and we just
Yes.
decided that we wanted Cinnabons. So
Nice.
I don't remember exactly which one it was that was like, well, let's ride our bikes to the mall. But we were like, okay, because we were 13 and stupid.
Mhm.
So here we are, and I believe it's about 17 miles to the Hamilton Mall from where I grew up. So that took us about an hour and a half. We got there, we got our Cinnabons, ate them down because we needed the caloric intake at that point, rode our bikes home, never spoke of it again, never did it again. And our parents were none the wiser until we told them long after we graduated high school.
That was smart.
Yeah.
But malls are kind of dying and we're seeing it all over. Echelon Mall, Shore Mall, Hamilton Mall is on
On
its
life
deathbed,
support.
I want to say.
Yeah.
And how much longer will they last? I see in some areas they're repurposing them, making them housing, turning so it's a combo of retail and housing, which is an intriguing idea. But it brought up the question for this week's Jersey Oddcast poll. What is your favorite defunct mall? Is it the Hamilton Mall? Is it the Shore Mall? Or is it the Echelon Mall? Gabe?
Well, I mean, they're not. The Shore Mall and Hamilton are not defunct. Let's just say that.
Shore Mall has been half
On
demolished.
Yeah,
sort of on last
Shore
leg.
Mall
I
is
mean, Shore Mall lost the Tilton 16
yeah.
level. I mean, a lot's gone.
The Shore
Hamilton Mall is still
yeah.
open.
I mean the Shore Mall is
Is
essentially
it?
Yeah,
Boscov's in the
yeah,
DMV.
yeah.
That's really about it.
Let's just say, how about our faded glory, our favorite faded glory mall of the
Fine.
80s? We'll say it that way. Because
Okay.
Hamilton is still open. But for me, I guess I'm going to go with, um, given the context of what we're talking about, I got to go with Echelon. Because first of all, you have to know how to find it.
Yeah.
Like it's tucked way in the back there, and there used to be one little sign that said Echelon, and I have great memories of that mall. They had a shop called Pro Corner. You could buy any jersey you wanted at Pro Corner, and they had a movie theater, and I saw Summer School there, which was pretty cool. I bought my first CDs at Sam Goody, good stuff, and it had like a food court. It had a Chick-fil-A before that was like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot in that mall. Yeah. Now there's nothing. I mean, it's like it's a shame. But Echelon for me, the Echelon Mall would be
Joe?
my
Echelon Mall also. I have fond memories of taking the train with my friends from Hamilton to Lindenwold, and then it was maybe a 10-minute walk over to the Echelon Mall. And, we,
Really?
oh, yeah. Yeah, it was real easy to
Didn't
get.
know.
We either rode our bikes or took the train everywhere all around South Jersey. Now, good luck even finding anyone who would allow a 15 or 16-year-old to do that. But back then it was the '90s. We were feral. We could do that. So we would, excuse me, take the train to Lindenwald, walk over maybe 10 minutes, walk down Laurel Road, cross the bridge, take your first left, and you were right there. Was that mall, I believe, housed, I don't remember, Gabe, you would remember if it was Hall of Heroes or Hero World, but it was a comic book store, and it was the first like actual comic book store that I had ever gone to. And I was maybe 8 or 9 years.
It was Heroes World. It was upstairs.
Yes.
I think Heroes with an apostrophe, meaning HEROES apostrophe World,
Yes.
and that was a great store.
Oh,
I frequented it. Yeah,
that
for
was
sure.
that was my
And
favorite
that
of all time. I mean, they were open well into my college years. I bought tons of trade paperbacks from there, comic books. I used to buy like sword replicas from there. Loved that. And, I used to love going to Suncoast Video, Sam Goody. I think that the Echelon Mall also had a wall there. There was an arcade at one point. There was a candy store that we spent way too much money in. Echelon Mall, absolutely my favorite of the old time malls.
I'm gonna go with Hamilton Mall because it had a great Macy's. It has a great Macy's. Always knew
you're
somebody in
doing it
there
again.
always knew
It's not
somebody in
close.
there who was working there or shopping there, so I always run to Hamiltonians there. They had the Borders bookstore in there at one point, which was great. Suncoast Video, other good shopping. It was not a huge mall, so you wouldn't get lost like King of Prussia or some of the malls near my family in New York. So that was nice about it. And I think it had a Ruby Tuesdays too.
Yep, it had a Ruby.
And it gave, when we were first starting dating, we used to go there on a regular basis, the Ruby Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So I have some
Classic.
popular members of that. And there used to be a good nail salon in there
Yeah.
too.
And they had a Friendlies for the longest time, and I believe it was closed by the time you moved to New Jersey. But Gabe, do you remember the two-story Italian bistro inside?
Yeah, I do.
It
And
was a restaurant.
funny you bring that up, Italian bistro.
It was down by, I believe, where Sears was. It was a two-story restaurant, and it
Okay.
was it was the height of fine mall dining at the time.
Yeah, because I remember there was another Italian bistro, I think, or maybe it was the Sbarro. I'm not sure. In a mall we don't talk about, but the Ocean One Mall in Atlantic City.
Oh, I loved that
There
place.
was
Which then
that was
became the pier.
another.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now the playground or whatever it's called this minute, but the Ocean One Mall was big. I was in a spelling bee in my elementary school years,
Oh, wow.
and hosted by Ray Murray of Evening Magazine, which was a big deal. Ray, him and
I
Oh,
Nancy Glass.
yeah.
So, well, Nancy wasn't there, but they hosted Evening Magazine. But yeah, and it was a real wild. It looked like a cruise ship, the
I
Ocean
think
One
we
Mall.
went to that Sbarro very early on.
Yeah,
Very early on. I
yeah,
think with probably one of your brothers, and I think we ended up there one night.
yeah. And I mean, but that was a Sbarro. You're right. It
Yeah.
was not an Italian bistro. The Italian bistro I remember as well,
Yeah.
but that made me
I
think of
will
the Ocean One Mall. Another, now that is defunct.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
gone. That's gone.
How about the Cherry Hill Mall? Isn't there like a restaurant in the middle kind of like you sit like it's open seating, it's not an enclosed
Yeah,
restaurant?
yeah. It was a Woolworth diner
Yes. Oh
that
my
was in the
word.
middle of the,
But then
and
it got a little
then
it's a
it
little more
got
upscale.
upscaled. It got
Yeah.
upscaled into like an Italian Tuscan grill type of thing. But it was built as a at the Cherry Hill Mall as the Woolworth diner.
Oh, that's
That was,
right.
but it was in front of the Woolworth. And it was in the middle of the walkway.
Hmm.
That's cool.
And
That
still is.
we've eaten
Well,
there
I
a few
shouldn't
times.
say it still is. I haven't been there, but I don't know if it's still there. But it was there still.
Well, it's my favorite part of the show. It's time for the Jersey Oddcast Forecast. with Joe Berenato.
Oh, well, since you said it, welcome to the Oddcast Forecast according to the app on my smartphone. Let's take a look at the upcoming weather. Thankfully, it looks like we are on the other side of the absolutely horrendously frigid temperatures. They were brutal, just brutal. Wednesday, we are looking at a high of 53, if you can believe that, with a low of 24. Thursday, we are looking at a high of 40 with a low of 32 and a possibility of rain that evening. Friday, we're looking at a high of 50 with a low of 39 and the possibility of rain, a slight wintry mix, and so forth. And looking ahead to the upcoming week, I've noticed that a lot of forecasts have downgraded temperatures a little bit. At one point on the 3rd, we were looking at somewhere in the high 60s, but it looks like at least for the next 10 days or so, we're going to be having in the 40s and 50s, which I, for one, when I work quite a bit outside, I am happy to see that. So,
That is shorts weather for a lot of people in Hamilton.
oh, for real, yeah. Not me, but some
Well,
people.
thank you everybody for watching this week. And if you want to get in touch with us, all you have to do is
Well, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. You can email us at jerseyoddcast@gmail.com, or you can call us at 609-444-6178 and call us for more information or for sponsorships.
thanks everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
See you next week.